Hello, and welcome to Chandler, and this is Chandler in Focus. I'm Vice Mayor Kevin Hartke, and today we're talking about Chandler's Innovation Science and Technology Incubator. And my guests today are Annette Zinky with Mesa out of Northern Arizona, and Brandon Ames, who is an entrepreneur with Anicell Biotech company. And we're certainly glad that you're both here. So let's get started with introductions. Annette, tell us about yourself.
Sure. So I am from Mesa, the Northern Arizona Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, and we have just started a partnership with the city of Chandler to operate a citywide incubation program out of Innovations Incubator here. I'm an entrepreneur. I have worked with other entrepreneurs for probably close to 10 years, and it's the most fun thing I can think of to do. So I love ideas. I love where they come from. I love what they can become. And so that is probably the most significant thing I can tell you about me.
Well, very good. And Brandon, tell us about yourself.
Well, I grew up on a cattle ranch in north central Washington, 81 miles from the nearest McDonald's. And so moved here to go to college and got a degree and basically started a company. And I've basically been a serial entrepreneur for the better part of 25 years, and done everything from aviation to building computer networks for kids and school districts to a telecommunications carrier. And so Anicell's just the latest project.
That was an interesting analogy of being so far as a cattle ranch from a place where they would actually take your product and sell it as a hamburger. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, welcome to our show today. And today we're going to be talking about our incubator. And Chandler has a state-of-the-art incubator, Innovations Incubator, that we started in 2010. It operates with the city in some space that we rent out. It was a former piece of Intel. So we've got gases, and we try to bring in some folks that we want to help them start their businesses and develop their products and actually become successful. And it's been a fun ride so far, and we're glad to have you two here, not only on the program, but as a tenant and someone that's going to be helping us do a better job even of taking our clients and helping them go to market. So this is a fun show for me. Tell us about Anicell Biotech.
Well, Anicell Biotech, we preserve the active life of animals through the collection. We're basically in the recycling business, and so we collect amnion during the birthing of healthy baby foals and dogs, and we utilize that in which to create miracles in other animals that either have sports injuries or wounds that need healing. And so it's basically a company that provides those types of regenerative therapies.
And how did you get started with this, and why this company?
Oh, about 8 years ago, my mother and daughter had a couple of horses pass away due to a chronic drug interaction, and basically treating wounds and inflammation in hocks, much with a corticosteroid. And it sat wrong with me that in this day and age, we're still treating symptoms as opposed to solving problems. And this technology came out of the human space originally to treat diabetic wounds and hard to heal wounds. And they started utilizing it in which to treat sports injuries in athletes. We like to say that we're human tested, animal approved. And so a little different deal. So we basically ported that technology over into the animal space in which to treat dogs and horses initially, and are finding a significant uptake in the zoology space as well.
Oh, very good. So tell us about the stem cell therapy. Obviously, there's a lot of research that has gone on that you've been involved in, and certainly a lot of capacity of where this could go.
Yeah. Well, stem cells are the basic building blocks to building tissue and bone. You've got several different types of cells, from red blood cells to white blood cells, that do different things. But the stem cell is the basic building block. The analogy I use, it's kind of like ozone is to oxygen. It's kind of a pre-cell that differentiates based on its need and use. to grow tissue and bone and ligaments and all sorts of epitheliation through skin. And so the use of this in wound treatment in animals, we've been doing bone marrow, blood cell, or stem cells and fat-based stem cells in animals for about the last 10 years. But the use of amniotic material is brand new. It's easier to use in the marketplace because you don't, it's immune privileged, a little miracle of childbirth where the body accepts it as an implant in which to treat those issues, unlike bone marrow and fat-based stem cells where they have to culture it and then it has to go right back into the same animal. Our product we can use on virtually any animal, same species. And we can use it xenogenically, which means that it can be used on other mammals as well.
Excellent. And so the product that you've been developing, Equicell Allomotion, specifically, what does that do?
So the Equicell lines basically are equine line for horses. That is the Allomotion product we use in which to treat sports injuries like tendon or ligament injuries, as well as treating bone or neurological type injuries in which we can implant that in an IV. We've got Allomatrix, which we use for hock inflammation and joints. Alloocular, which we use as an eye treatment for corneal ulcers. And then stem wrap, which is our treatment in which to treat wounds that we've just had phenomenal success with.
So when you say phenomenal success, which obviously at both development, how has your product gone out so far, and what are the successes that you've seen with your products?
Oh, it's fun to go to work every day and have people calling you saying that you basically saved their animal's life. Nice. We had a dog named Flash that had a cranial cruciate ligament, which is basically an ACL in humans that we treated 7-day post-op. Flash was walking without a limp and could completely sit on his leg with full range of motion 7 days after post-op. We treated a tiger up out of Africa that had a 6-year-old wound to the eye in which they'd done 2 surgeries and had been unable to get it to heal. We used our Alloocular product on that, and 2.5 weeks later, the wound had healed, and the animal's behavior changed significantly to where the handlers just noticed a significant improvement in the fact that she was happier to be around. We've had a 33-year-old horse that a vet called me. He says, I got a shot I'm taking to this horse, and it's not a good shot. Do you have something that we can take instead? And so they gave that horse an IV of our Allomotion product. The horse had been laying down for a number of days, got up and walked 2 days later, went back on feed, went back on water, and then they started treating the bed sores because he was doing so well. So, I mean, we've got just a number of different treatments. We've probably done 50 to 60 treatments so far with all positive results.
So before your product was being used with these animals, they were using what they thought were state-of-the-art treatments, and obviously your example with the tiger, you had mentioned years of trying to heal this wound, and your product turned this tiger around.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's been a lot of fun.
So tell me a little bit more, again, for our listeners, as much as you can, the specifics about how you mentioned giving this horse who had a specific wound an IV, which obviously is just putting it into his bloodstream, his or her bloodstream, and then seeing it at work specifically with this one wound. Tell us a little bit more about how stem cell therapy works.
Well, think of it as a tornado that comes through and wipes your house off of its foundation. Once that happens, neighbors and friends show up in which to rebuild that or to help rebuild your house. And that's what happens in the blood is people volunteer in which to show up, and that's the stem cells that are in your body naturally start to rebuild that. But in conformationally challenging areas like knees and joints and those types of areas, there's not enough blood flow there in which to actually serve up all the material needed to rebuild it. It'd be like trying to pick up wood and pieces out of the tornado in which to rebuild that house. In our treatment, we're basically supplying a semi-load of material, which is the amniotic components, the growth factors in which to, and this is kind of technical, but it's called extracellular matrix that links the cells together in which to rebuild tissue. And absent a good supply of that material, you get scar tissue, you get a slow healing wound rehabilitation. And so we're serving up those stem cells and those products in which to actually rebuild that entire wound.
So what is your vision for the future? Obviously, it seems like you are tapping into a field and a market that there's lots of room for improvement. Where do you see your company going?
Well, we're just at the impetus of this. Right now, we're spending a lot of time in R&D, figuring out the best way in which to treat these wounds, growing the product set. And we see it over the course of, we see us being a global company within the next 3 to 5 years based on this treatment. We've got a patent on it, and so those types of treatments aren't just limited to the U.S. We've got animals all over the world, and so we see it as being a cheaper, faster, better, and safer solution than what's on the marketplace today.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Annette, you've listened to Brandon, and your work has been with incubators and with smart people who have great ideas, and to help them take a great idea and actually help them turn this into a viable company. So tell us about what you do and tell us about Mesa.
Absolutely. Well, so Brandon is a great example of why we do what we do. He's clearly a sophisticated serial entrepreneur, but in a small company, you can't be everything all the time. And so we have a team of people with different specialties and a pretty extensive group of mentors who are experts in different fields that can kind of fill in the gaps of a growing company as they grow, and help you kind of get the resources that you need. We have a lot of different programs that might be useful to you or to your employees and to your founding team, just to make sure that you have all the support that you can possibly use while you grow a better company. So we work with a lot of people at early stage, idea phase, trying to help them get from idea into reality. Setting very specific goals with them and making sure that they know what it takes to actually accomplish what they're trying to. And when a company is already launched and already in revenue, then you're trying to get up to scale. You're trying to build the team that you need and build a sales network that you need and put together all of those moving parts. And since you've done this a number of times, you know that can get really hectic while you're trying to grow. You are trying to build a culture within your organization. You're trying to make sure that you have the right people in the right roles in your organization. You're trying to make sure that you have the right message and the right product market fit. So there are a lot of moving parts to growing a company, and we have a bunch of people on our team that have built companies before that think this is really fun. And so it's fun to see the kind of thing that you're doing and the kinds of things that the next generation of entrepreneurs are doing in Chandler too.
So how long has NASIC been around, and what are some of the successes you've seen in the development of this company?
So NASA is a nonprofit organization. We've been around officially since 2001, although the program has kind of evolved over time, and what we are now has probably been more or less since 2008. So we are kind of broadly an entrepreneurial support organization, which sounds a little bit confusing, but we bring what entrepreneurs need to them when they need it. So instead of having a very specific formal curriculum, we actually sit down one-on-one with clients and help them figure out exactly what they're trying to accomplish, what we have that we can add to that, what they still need, and then we can go out and help find the things that they're missing too. So some of the fun successes since Innovations has a life science emphasis. I'll tell you about one of the graduates of the incubation program that is doing some pretty amazing things now. A company called Tech developed, I think what everybody kind of casually calls mousopause. It is reproductive suppression for rodents. And this was really developed to help with the food loss. So apparently rodents eat a huge amount of the food stores in third world countries, and it reduces the availability to people who already don't have a lot of food to eat. And so then, of course, we look at our first world problems here in the US and we think, okay, well, where are there a lot of rats that we can test and see if this works? And so they did some pilots in Boston and in the New York subways. And I'll tell you, the fun thing about rats, I don't know if I thought I would have this conversation this morning, but the fun thing about rats is that they're kind of like the mafia in that when you kill off a whole family of rats, another family will move in to take over their territory. But if you just suppress the population, a smaller rat colony can maintain their territory without as many rats and as much waste and as much disease spreading. And so poison and traps don't work, haven't worked. We would have solved this problem already if that worked. And so suppressing the population is working. And it's really impressive to see just a different angle on the kind of treatment that you can offer. So it's a fun company to talk about because people squirm when they hear about rats.
I think I just read recently something about one of the islands as part of Alaska is known as Rat Island. So
I believe it.
Apparently shipping would go in and out of there, and one of the bystanders that stayed were rats that have taken over this particular island. So maybe Alaska will pick up this show and contact you.
They actually have a lot of contacts now from interesting mammal problems. So there are feral pig problems in the southeastern US, I think. There are rodent problems even on a lot of islands. So Australia has a big rat problem too. I think a lot of people are really interested in seeing what it can do in their areas. And this is a very young company that's, I think they're very close to their EPA certifications. So they're about ready to hit the market and do some amazing things.
And what are some of the other communities that you've worked with? Obviously Flagstaff, and we'll talk a little bit more about coming to Chandler, but what are some other communities that Mesa has helped?
Well, our base is in Flagstaff, and we operate an incubator in the city of Maricopa, and now Innovations in Chandler. We helped to start CEI in Central Phoenix. I guess we're kind of an incubator of incubators too. So we help communities start incubation programs to build this culture of entrepreneurship in the region. There are lots of ways to do economic development, and one piece of that is through entrepreneurial development. And so we like to go into a community and kind of figure out what the entrepreneurial culture is and who's doing what and what's getting traction and what kind of talent base you have, and then build things that support that. We don't replace anything that anybody's doing. We work really closely with the entities that are already doing fantastic things. And in Chandler specifically, you already have great momentum for makers through Tech Shop and for a lot of software and digital sector people that are working out of Gangplank. And this is a thing that we would plug into and add to without taking anything away from anyone. So we're working really closely with the meetup groups and the inventors groups and everybody that we can find that is interested in making something bigger together.
Well, very good. Well, I love this conversation. I am a bit of a science nut, even though my fields that I'm currently in don't reflect that. And this is fascinating to have two very smart people and applying what you do in your own niches. So this is great. So Brian, what else would you like to say about your business, or what else would you like viewers to know about what you do?
Well, I think probably some kudos needs to go out to the city of Chandler. We've been in the Innovation Center since June, and the host of resources have been amazing for our company, just being a startup. And as with all startups, resources are few and far between, and to have a place in which to set up shop that comes with the types of equipment and the types of facilities that we need in which to be successful. I mean, you don't find a wet stem cell lab just hanging out typically in a leasing marketplace, and so this has given us the ability in which to ramp very quickly. We started the company in April. We moved in June. We had product available in July. We did our first treatments in August and got our first sales in September. And so it has been a very quick ramp, and you don't do that without help. And companies like Mesa and City of Chandler being just an excellent partner to go through and have on your side.
Very good. So what are some of the other equipment that you perhaps were surprised at when you came to innovations? Obviously, the ability to do some stem cell work. What are some of the other things that are available for others that might be interested in looking at that?
Yeah, well, finding a facility that has pretty significant hoods. I mean, my PhD, he's a veterinarian that went to 9 years of vet school and decided that Dr. Moises Barcelo, he decided that he wanted to be back in a lab environment, so went back to school for another 4 years to get his PhD in cellular biology, biotechnology, and genetics. And he was pretty impressed with the facility in that there was some really nice hoods, refrigerators and freezers, -80 freezers, liquid nitrogen supplied, 24/7 power backup support. I mean, those things are absolutely crucial. We've got $500,000 in products sitting in a -80 freezer, and if the power goes out, that product goes bad in a hurry. And so being able to have a shared lab space, both for a bacteria and a cellular biology lab, as well as the cryogenic support, is just huge, just huge.
Very good. Well, with only a few minutes remaining, Annette, is there anything else you'd like to say about Mesa?
Well, mostly what I want to say is about innovations. I mean, I think the city of Chandler has really been very forward-thinking about putting infrastructure into place to support entrepreneurs. And Brandon said it exactly right. These things don't just sit around. The lab space is a huge asset, and having access to things that are really cost prohibitive for startup companies to use, I think it was really a great thought about the kinds of companies that you wanted to build in the city, and it's tremendously important. And just being able to access that and share those things and interact with other companies that are of a similar mindset it's really a fantastic resource, and we just want to add the business side of that to what's already being done.
Well, very good. Well, Brandon and Annette, it's been a pleasure to have you here. Again, I am Kevin Hartke, Vice Mayor Chandler, and this is Chandler in Focus. We'll see you at our next show.